The Nurburgring is kind of like those fuel economy tests, the ones they put on the sticker to say to you how fuel efficient your car might be. They're a benchmark. The Nurburgring is the same thing. Car companies use the Nurburgring for two reasons. One is because it makes them seem cool, and two, they can rip bits of the interior out, tape up the ducts, and send a car out there with a gun driver at the wheel to give you a time. Because the thing about the Nurburgring is it's the same track day in, day out. The only thing that changes is the car, the driver, and the weather. Let's talk numbers. The Lamborghini Huracan LP610-4, which is the normal Huracan, did it in 7 minutes 28. The Ferrari 488 did it in 7 minutes 21. Both of those are pretty fast. Nissan sent a Nismo GTR around the track in 7 minutes 9, but they were just mucking around. Let's get serious. The Lamborghini Aventador Super Veloce with 750 metric horsepower did it in a squeak under 7 minutes. The Porsche 911 GT3 RS knocked it over in 6 minutes 56. And then came this, the Lamborghini Huracan Performante. It went around the Nurburgring in 6 minutes and 52 seconds. And the Huracan Performante did that time with a mere 640 metric horsepower, or about 470 kilowatts. Now, sadly, I'm not at the Nurburgring, and even if I was, I couldn't do a 7-minute lap if you paid me $50 million and my life depended on it. But what I am going to tell you is how the Performante did that lap, why it's one of the best cars on the road today, and why it's probably the best Lamborghini ever made.
I'm so in love with you.
Under this fantastic glass engine cover is the same 5.2 litre V10 that Lambo shares with Audi. In the Performante, it has another 30 horsepower, which takes up to 640, and that's metric horsepower, or 470 kilowatts, so it's 20 kilowatts up. There's also another 40 newton meters, which means a nice round total of 600 newton meters. To get to this extra power, there's a new intake manifold, a new exhaust, which is also lighter. There's a lot of little weight-saving pieces on this car, and high lift titanium valves. And look, the cam covers are gold. That must mean something. Okay, can we just stop for a second? There's something really important I have to get out. I love Italian names for things. The twin clutch transmission on the Lamborghini is called the doppio frizione. The onboard computer is called piattaforma inerziale. They don't mean anything different to twin clutch and inertia platform. I mean, that's the name. It doesn't sound any good in English. It's like Giuseppe Verdi translating to Joe Green. Aerodynamica Lamborghini Attiva just means active Lamborghini aero. But it just sounds so good. While I'm here, if you like these videos, please do subscribe. And what I want you to do in the comments, doesn't matter what you've got to say, please give this skin cancer a name. It's not fatal, don't worry, but I know you can see it. Give it a name, go on. Best name wins, I don't know, something. I'll think of something. Anyway, back to the show. So, ALA, it does a few things. One of the funkiest things it does is aero vectoring. So it's like torque vectoring. So you know how on some cars it will nip the brakes on the inside to help turn the car in by slowing the inside rear down? Well, aero vectoring is a similar concept. When you're really on it and the big tyres are squishing into the road and you're turning into a corner, it will actually move the downforce across using these flaps, so it'll send more downforce to the inside to help turn the car in. That's incredibly clever. Down the front is another forged carbon wing, and it's also active. So there's some flaps in here that direct the air depending on how fast you're going, whether you're going in a corner or a straight line, and it just, again, moves the downforce around to give you maximum effect. Of course, with all that go, you need a fantastic set of brakes. These are 380mm monsters. They're carbon ceramics, of course, and they have 6 piston calipers. Down the back, they're not actually that much smaller. They're 356mm with 4 piston calipers. And I can assure you, they work. Inside, it's just as mad and dark as before. It's like a Tim Burton film. Here in the Performante, you've got all this nutty forged composite stuff. You've got this lovely Alcantara steering wheel. And you've got these carbon fibre seats. Now, you know how on the internet people are always saying something like, they're really uncomfortable, why on earth would you have them? And you know what I always say about the internet, that they're wrong. Well, they're right. These are possibly the most uncomfortable seats I've ever sat in. They're not uncomfortable to just get into. They're just, over time, you get sorer and sorer and sorer. But they're not here to compliment my big behind. They're here to hold me in. And that they do very well. So this being a press car, you know, for us, very spoiled members of the Fourth Estate, this has got a few options on it, and it's got 2 options that are really important. First, it's got the magneto rear-logical dampers, so they're pretty common across supercars, but on the Performante, they're an option. What that means is, in the Strata mode, which on the normal Huracan is terrible and I never use, it's actually quite bearable. It's much better ride than obviously in Sport or Corsa, but it's also, it just means that if you're driving to the track in the car, you're not going to get there with your jimmies rustled. It's going to be a more comfortable experience. But it also means that when you do go into Strata and then Corsa, you've got that much more grip and that much more lateral grip, all that stuff. So it's not a big deal, but it's probably worth ticking the box. Now, the only reason I'm cross this has got the variable steering is just because I was really keen to see what it was like without it. Because I'm old, I kind of like the idea of the old linear systems. I like it in engines. Like, I like this. One of the reasons I like the engine in this car is because it's linear. It's a naturally aspirated 5.2 litre V10, and so the steering is variable. What it does mean, though, it has got the most extraordinary change of direction. This car is amazing, and the only car that's changed direction anything like this that I've driven before is the Lotus Elise, and that weighs a little bit more than half of this. So there's a reason it turns in well, whereas this thing, you turn it, it goes, and it doesn't matter which mode you're in, it's quite something. Now, I do want to talk about those Nurburgring times again, because I know there's a whole bunch of you fuming about me missing a car, and that's the Porsche 911 GT2 RS. That thing is faster than this around the ring, and by quite some margin. It also went around the ring with a few bits left behind in the garage. Now, that is a genuine factory option, so I'm not getting upset, and it's got the Weissach package, and it's got a whole bunch of stuff in it that an off-the-shelf GT2 RS doesn't have. The only thing that changed for the ring time on this were the Pirelli Super Trofeo tyres, or the Trofeo tyres, not Super Trofeo, that's the racing series. Let me get that right. That's all they changed. So you can see that lap on YouTube, and it is something to behold. It is quite amazing how quickly this thing moves. And so I asked the question about how is this a 7-minute car or a sub 7-minute car? It's because everything is turned up. Every single little part of this car has been examined, checked. Can we make it lighter? Can we make it better? Can we make it faster? And the answer is yes on all the things they've done, and it's all worked, but it hasn't destroyed the character of the car. What's it like to drive? Well, I put it into sport, I'll drop down to second, and I'm telling you, this is just amazing. It's so fast, and it cannot not put a smile on your face. But it's not, it doesn't bite you. It's not a bitey car. It doesn't want to kill you. It's not that, you know, Lamborghinis have to be able to kill you. It's really user-friendly, and the steering doesn't get too heavy. It doesn't get too out of line. It's just, ah. But the character of the Huracan has always been that really loud, obnoxious engine, and it is just brilliant. I mean, I was driving this around the city yesterday in Sydney, Australia, if you're wondering. And there was this group of school kids who every time they saw it threw their hands in the air and wah! They loved it. This car just, everyone loves it. I've got almost none of that kind of ugh that you get in some cars like this. People just love the wild looks, the wild wing, and it looks and sounds amazing. And everyone who gets in this car just thinks it's brilliant once they've regained the ability to speak, of course. It's just so good. And this is a bumpy road. You know, this is a road that you've seen a lot in my videos. It's bumpy, it's messy, but this car just eats it up. Types of corners. It's good in long sweepers, and that's the aero at work, the aerodynamica Lamborghini Attiva. The way it works to stick the car down and give you confidence. That's what this car does, and I think I've said this about the other Huracans. You get a lot of confidence out of a stable, strong platform, but with all this extra aero, you're getting even more confidence to play with and even more joy in the driving. And it delivers. So any track, anytime, this will make your heart sing. It's such a great car. I know I say that about everything I drive, but I don't drive crap cars on the Redline. You know when you get to the end of a day and you're really tired, and there's two tired. There's I've had enough of this tired, or I've done good work today tired. This is that kind of tired. It's tiring. It's generally fairly uncomfortable. It's loud, but my goodness, a sub 7 minute Nurburgring car has no right at all to be this user-friendly and to be this much fun. Like, some focus cars aren't fun. Sometimes they're just a little bit too much. This is just, it's amazing. Every time you drive it, you'll get out, you'll have a crick back, or you'll be sore, or you'll be pinched in your hips, depending on what size you are. But you'll still have a stupid, tired smile on your face.